Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Franchisers Feed. My guest today is Mark Amery. He's been acing the franchise game in both the residential and commercial services space. He's the founder of Toodaloo, Pest and Wildlife Control, as well as Puddle Pool Services. Today people are seeking opportunities in the so-called, pardon me, Mark,
Yeah.
unsexy or boring businesses, such as
Yes.
laundromats, car washes, pool services. But I guess now people are catching up on where the real money lies. And
Yes.
these industries have a lot of potential. Mark, you've been in the game since 2014. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And
No,
you've
right. Yeah. No,
mhm.
wow. No, long time.
and you've revolutionized the pool maintenance industry across Canada and the US, which of course we'll be exploring in the podcast. And a fun fact for those of you who are watching, Mark has also made his appearance in the Dragon's Den television show, in which
Yep.
entrepreneurs pitch their business ideas to a panel of venture capitalists. Mark, I'm very intrigued by your ventures and escapades already. So, welcome to the show.
I sound really old now. 14. That's a long time.
When was that, the Dragon show appearance?
Oh, that was a while ago. That was about like maybe 5 years ago. That was
Ah,
yeah, that was a while ago. So
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of research on you and I was quite taken aback.
Oh,
It's like a version of Shark Tank, right? Kind of Shark
yes.
Tank, where you
Yep. It's
go.
the Canadian side. Yes. I think they were before Shark Tank. I'm not too sure, but that might be
Okay,
there.
it's a cat. Okay, I had this impression that it was British. Okay,
They do have it. They do have it in Britain as well. Uh,
got
I think
it.
I think it's called Dragon's Den in Britain as well.
Yeah, it's the same name.
Oh, is it the same name? Okay, yeah, yeah. So yes, yeah, they do have it. Yeah, you're right. I've seen that one before. So yeah, that was a long
Okay,
time ago though. Yeah, that was
that was okay. And was it for one of your home services or brands itself, or?
correct. Yes. So I had three different ones prior, and then just kind of bringing them as a collective, and then expanding that way. So, but yeah, they were all in home service.
Right.
I've always been in home service. So
Yeah, yeah. You've been in the home service industry since 2014. So my
yeah,
I would like to begin it this way. Um,
sure.
you started in the home services industry. What was your background? What led you to get into this industry?
The home services. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always been in home service. Yeah, even since my first real job out of high school was in pest control. I was a technician and kind of stayed with it for a while and then grew into like the typical manager position and kind of growing the corporate way. And then realizing at one point where you start to do the math where you're like, what am I this I could be doing this, and um you kind of get that bug. And I think that's where the bug started for me, is realizing not so much it's not just the money. I could be making this money, or this could, that kind of thing. But it's more the freedom. We're asking, like, can I have Tuesday after? I hated that. Like, can I have Tuesday afternoon off because I have to go to the dentist, or trying to justify? That's the part I really didn't like. So I think
Mm,
I'm not sure how every business owner in that. I think that's probably why the drive, why they would start, either money or time is usually the one. But for me, it was kind of more the time. Of course, the money as well. Like, you see those, but that's kind of what led me into my own path. So, but yeah, so I
correct.
started from home services. So I don't really know any
Mm.
other. I would not do well in the restaurant industry kind of thing. So
No, I think based on your experience, you made a right decision. That was very wise of you to venture into home services. This industry has a lot of scope. Um,
yeah.
literally, people are catching up on it. There's an influencer. Her name is Cody Sanchez, and she talks a lot about these unconventional businesses that people never think about. How much money these industries can provide you with, and so much scope.
Very unsexy. I've heard that a lot of times too, right? And it's
Yeah,
very unsexy. There's nothing sexy about it, right? But it's essential service, right? If you own a home, or like that kind of thing, there's services that you need to do to your home or your property that sometimes you just don't want to, or you can't. So I think that
exactly.
yeah.
And I think what you're doing precisely, revolutionizing the industry, that's where the scope lies in these so-called unsexy businesses. So I get that how you got into home services, Was franchising on top of your mind when you ventured? Did you think already that I'm going to franchise it?
No, I didn't really know what franchise was. I just knew like, hey, we're going to McDonald's. I knew that was, like I was pretty young. I was like 18 or 19 or something like that, where I started my first. It was a pest control company because it came from that field and went into the other, and I just grew it corporately. So I just grew it till there was one, two, three, four, five, six technicians kind of thing. We had routes going. We started taking market share of the big boys, the larger local. We became the largest local, in Vancouver or BC, well, BC probably at that time. And then anyways, I exited to a competitor, but yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but it once I exited that, I kind of, I was younger now. I'm 47, so I keep saying I was younger. I was like 25, maybe or 26
You're
or
still
that.
young.
Yeah, there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting my ages wrong, but after that, I decided to kind of take some time and just what you want your next one to be because had some time and I was really eager to get back into something, and I couldn't do pest control obviously because I had non-competes, and then I went to it was like a business convention, but one of these shows or whatever where they had somebody speaking, and I watched a guy talk about franchising, and his name is Jim Tree Living, and he owns all these Boston Pizza, like he's a huge mogul in the space, right? So, um, but yeah, I kind of watched that, and then it really kind of just like ticked with me, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. And then I kind of did more digging, and that's when the kind of spark there. So that's kind of how
That's
I
when
got
the
into it.
idea came.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Um, and then you got started with Puddle Pool Services. So how did you? First of all, why pool services? I get that it's kind of falls into the home services and commercial space.
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
What? Yeah, it's so I kind of had like in my brain, I had a bunch of home service sectors I wanted to hit over time, and then after exiting all those, I moved. We had Puddle kind of on the sidelines for a couple of years waiting, and then we're slowly developing it on the side. Like myself, it's not just myself. We have a leadership team of five now over like 10 years, so everybody kind of knows everybody really well. It's like family. So we started developing that, and then why that space? It was like for me personally, I moved into a house and it had a pool, and I had no idea how to run a pool, and so like unsexy essential service, I needed somebody to do it, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I was calling up to people like an hour away, and either they wouldn't answer the phone or they're just they're like hello wait that kind of thing. You had the odd and just could not get anybody. And finally, I had a guy came on like a Sunday. Says, "Yeah, I'll stop by on my way home from camping or something." And he showed up, and he had his dog in the front, and he looked like he just came from camping, which is fine. And then he had like one flip flop, which I remember, and I was like, "Is this for real?" And yeah. So, anyways, after that, kind of like, okay, it's go time, and then it's time to come in and I don't know, clean up the space or just kind of do some things a little different. So that we moved right into that. So that's kind of how we
I see.
yeah, that's how
I
we
see.
started that one. So
I think that's one of the best ways to get into business. You identify that there's a real need, there is a gap that
yeah,
you could fill,
yes,
and just venture into that because you're solving a real problem. If you face it, I'm sure a lot of people are. Um,
yeah, it was with pools. It was like I have five kids. So I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be like dumping chemical. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you read the horror stories online, and so it really scared me at first. And then when I had it, like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to find anybody that does this. So anyways, that's kind of we found a company after that, and we went right into it. Excuse me.
got it. So, okay, now if we were to talk about business, I do get how did you identify the need? Can you put things in perspective as far as the market is concerned of pool services today,
Yeah,
the margins, etc.?
yeah, that's yeah. So as far as market, so there are there's no everywhere has a market, right? If there's pools, right? Except for like Antarctica, that's we can't go there. It's too cold, right? But that kind of thing, it's um like we're in Canada, we have all four seasons. We have some parts of Canada that are like 6 feet of snow at some years, and then I'm in Vancouver where it's just like it just rains all the time. That's all it does, right? We get a couple months of, and then you have in the U.S., you have down the southern states where it's 24/7. It's nice all the time, and everybody and their mother has a pool, right? So the market's kind of changed throughout. So it's the same. It's just we base our territories on a 10,000 pool count. So some folks may have a little larger area, and some may have some that are really tight, where every one in two homes has a pool. So as far as the markets, it's everywhere. We also do like hot tubs, water features, hotels, motels, apartments, all that kind of thing. So there's we're really available anywhere. So for this
For sure,
service, yeah. And
for
the
sure.
second part of the question, I forgot.
The second part, the margins. I was
Oh, the
asking for the margin.
margins. Yes, yeah. So we have an average net of 20.53, so 20 to 20.5% net after all said and done, which is in
Mm.
home service space is it's fantastic. So
Yeah,
um,
that's what I was going to ask. How's
yeah,
it when you compare the home service? Okay.
yeah. That's what makes it
Interesting.
really attractive, and the fact that we've
Yeah.
simplified it and made everything. I don't know if like techie is the word, like you can run the
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
business from your phone and, techs are using iPad. So it's a little more, um, not just a value add for the client at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
It's just the ease for the people in the field. It's
mm-hmm.
ease for the franchise partner, the owners to kind of run their day to day. So
Yeah.
we've made it where it's a little more, you can, like an executive model where the owner isn't putting their hands in the pool. They're kind of
Mm-hmm.
on the sidelines growing and driving the business. So sorry, I think I'm
Absolutely,
like veering off
absolutely.
the question. Stop me. Yeah.
No, 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 not at all. Actually, I would like to have a question on just around how you're trying to change the pool landscape, uh, bringing in technology in it, and how is it helping different stakeholders. But just before that, because we are trying to set the base as far as this industry is concerned, many people have this thought process, and you briefly touched on that, that it's very seasonal. So how do you kick out the idea of seasonality out of the picture with what you do at Puddle Pool Services?
Yeah, good question. That's usually a really common question is how do like what do you do in the off season, right? So for us there is no off season because we deal with homeowners, residential, yes, that may in some areas they may close their pool down in the for the colder seasons. But some like in Vancouver they run it year round where they're just there every 2 weeks checking. But um,
Mm,
back to how we revolutionize it is not only going into the residential and commercial space to make because that commercial space, apartments, townhomes, multi-units, HOAs, apartments, or apartment like that kind of thing. It's year round because the pools are indoors or the water features are indoors or it's that where
right.
it has to be taken care of that. In most areas and zips, it's daily, so
Mm,
there is no season. And it really helps us because we have that question a lot. Is like, what if it when it's cold or what do you do then? And like being 18 territories in Canada running strong, it kind of helps where like, well, if it works here, it's got to work there, right? So, and which is
right.
true because we do experience some parts, the
Yeah.
full seasonality. So, yeah.
One of the things I really like is, when you think of pool maintenance, people don't think about, shutting the pool, closing the pool when it's winters, and that's what you do as well. So
Yeah, correct.
just
Yeah.
being able to, yeah, I think just being able to know what the client needs and adding that service, and this way you're being able to kick away the seasonality out of the business.
Yeah. And our larger we have core services, the regular maintenance and stuff like our leak detection, vinyl liner replacement, full pump repairs, all the mechanical sides, right up to actual fiberglass pool installs we do as well now. So it's really is because during COVID, some people were waiting a year, a year and a half for a pool, and it just you had to hurry up and wait, right? So we've kind of streamlined that process as well with our suppliers and getting I don't know the word to use, best pick or quickest pick for the homeowner, within 6 weeks you can have one in your backyard ready to go. So yeah, so it's those other taking that the seasonality of that as well, and yeah, there's always something. So
Mm.
Yeah.
And I believe from what you're saying, it's the commercial space that is more lucrative when compared to the residential one.
Correct. Yes. It is a different game. It's a different, you know, it's a pool is a pool is a pool. It's the same thing, right? It might be just bigger, a little more parts and intricate, kind of things happening to it, but it's more of yeah, it's there's different marketing plans, it's a different approach, it's a different it's just a whole different I can't give you too much just in case a competitor's watching, then I have to,
Yeah, yeah,
then we'd
get
have to
that.
go after them. But no, it's yeah, it is a little more yeah, it's a little more it's a different space, right? It's
It's a
totally
totally
separate than
different space.
residential. Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole new learning process. Yeah, so that's why most people don't go into it.
Hmm. Well, at least at this, what you've answered that this is not a seasonal business, and that's what is essential for people to know. That if you
Yeah,
venture into this business, you would not have that issue, and it's more like a subscription business model. Given that
yeah,
you always have the need for okay,
exactly. Yeah.
you were talking about revolutionizing the space. How have you managed to revolutionize, and what do you mean by that? How are things? You did mention that briefly, but how did you change the state of affairs?
Yeah, so for the business owner side, the franchise partner side, it's not your typical like owner operator model. It's not,
Mhm.
hey, I want to clean some pools in my area. Here we go. We've built it for scale, like through an executive model where they're, filling the teams. But you also do have that owner operator side as well, where we have folks in our system that run it that way, and they feel more comfortable in the field, but running the team, they're just more hands on. I'm like that myself. I'm very hands on. I gotta feel it. I gotta see what's going on. But how we revolutionized it for the owner would be uh, I could I could run where you are right now from where I am to run the entire business, to run a home service business as soon as the technician's in place. And that's kind of the kicker. So being able to, like we have all the marketing goes in the world, the call center, all that flows into our own CRM that we have. It's proprietary. It's been built since day one, so we don't outsource anything. Having that allows the owner to quote the jobs. Everything kind of syncs with Google Earth, links with the technicians, with their vehicles. They know what's going on at all times. They don't need to do site visits. They can send quotes within seconds, collect payment within seconds, automated everything as far as, say, subscription model. It's best for the homeowner as well as the business owner, where they can, at the end of the month, they hit one button, it just invoices all the cards, so they're not chasing money. All the pain points in the home industry, and I've been in it for a long time, so I know everything. I always joke about even the littlest thing down to these buttons on this phone are too small. I got big fat wet fingers, make them bigger because it's ours. We can make, and that's a pain point, right? So from the technician side in the field, even their assistants having live help for technicians when they need something, they just hit help me, and it goes to one of our live um, ops, somebody in the ops field that will help them walk them through that, or we have videos. So there's a lot of not just the support side. So it's kind of what's like when they say you can run the entire business from your iPhone or your iPad or your whatever, that you can really run it from afar. So that's what's really revolutionizing. That's what makes it, I'd say, the most attractive. Like we've scaled pretty quickly this year, but at a controlled growth, right? So but that would be kind of the idea there.
I yeah,
If I
I
start to
see.
ramble too, I have a tendency to just not shut up. Just tell me to more comedy.
No, no, no way. I mean, that's the idea,
Oh, okay,
we're exploring a free flow conversation.
there you
Now,
go.
you talk about revolutionizing, and the point that you just mentioned, the button is used more. I think that's also adoption, not just
Yeah,
rolling out a piece of technology, but making sure people that you work with actually adopt.
yeah, definitely.
So active listening.
Yeah.
How is this model different from if we're just thinking in terms of the franchise partners? How is it different from a brick and mortar business? And how is the model lean? Because
Yeah.
from what I understand, it's a very lean model that you've created. How is it lean and how is it different from a brick and mortar business?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question. Um, how's it different is everyone, your fixed cost, your overhead is we want to keep it minimal. We want to keep it at zero if we can. So not having those fixed lease payments, the heat, the hydro, that's, all those things to keep the lights on. You really don't have that in the homes, usually in a home service space. That's not we didn't do that. That's just kind of why most home services, those unsexy, dirty businesses are attractive.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a storage facility to keep all of your chemicals and tools for technicians and whatnot. We've automated that side. As far as everything we do is in-house, like their marketing, their call center, social media, PPC, SEO, digital, all of that fun stuff. That's usually a bit of a challenge.
Hmm.
We do in-house, so that overhead, they don't. Even though when you have something that's in-house and then somebody says we offer marketing, right? Not that there's anything wrong with the other side where they're outsourcing it, but the person that pays for it at the end of the day is the franchise partner. Because if they have,
Yeah.
say, $1,000 to go to marketing, if it's in-house, usually it's like for us, all 1,000 of those dollars go to marketing, right? And nobody
Hmm.
takes a cut. If they're outsourcing it to another third party that does the marketing for them, they say, here's 1,000. They obviously need to take a cut for themselves for doing the work. So maybe they take 250, 300, whatever that number is. And now they're really only left with 700, right? So
Hmm.
keeping it lean and mean is allows them to have that ROI, right? When
Right.
their biggest concerns be when can I get my money back and how much money am I going to make? Those are usually the most common questions, right? And I think human nature
Yeah.
that's should be, right? So, and it's our job to make sure they can get their return as quick as they can and that they're profitable as quick as they can. Because the better they do, the better we do. And I think that's what keeps everybody on their toes is make sure on our end we want to make sure they're if you guys don't do as well, without using some colorful language, then we don't do as well. So
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of probably the number one.
That's an interesting approach. Because a lot of times, as you rightly mentioned, it's the franchisees that are left to do the marketing job. But how do you ensure that they could do that well? So if it's in-house, you have the control, the expertise to do it and just run the ads across all, let's say, locations on behalf of the franchisees, right? That's what you meant.
Correct. We don't want them doing any. They can certainly help or bring. We have some guys that are and gals that are well versed in social media. We have one guy who's about 24, to Kalan, call him the K Man, and he's all over TikTok. And I myself, I go on TikTok to just be an idiot and just look at the funny stuff and whatever they have on there. But when you look at the his ability to make videos and he has one with like 9 million, 10 million views. And myself, that just blows my mind because I'm not from that world, right? So like myself, if I was left to do social media on my own to start, I would not do well because that's not my land. I don't understand that, right? So it really having those people in house is just, and they know it's like you say, how can we grow in each territory equally and up to they've been doing it for so long and we've been doing it together. They know the keywords, they know the backlinks, they know all of that, those things that drive that. And typically a franchise partner wouldn't, or if they did, they might not know this space, those things, the phrases to use. So it really is a
That's a good idea.
big help for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what's the age range of this franchise partner who has a big presence on TikTok? I'm asking it because I think for
Yeah.
your industry, I want to know give me some information as far as the age range is concerned. What would work for you?
Our youngest is 21, 20 or 21. She's 20. And our oldest is about, I don't know, I think it's about 59 maybe or 60. So we have a range and we have
Um,
men, we have couples, we have single guys, we have single ladies, we have husband, wife, we have wife, we have so it's not just like 18 to 25 male. We have everybody. So it's a
across the
large,
spectrum.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it's great. It really pertains to anybody that really has that drive that we have the younger folks that are, they kill it on the social media field where, maybe some of the olders, me being in that group would need help with that. And we have, these chat
Yeah.
groups and helps. But then the young or the older who have life experience can really help with relationship building with, like maybe in the commercial side with the younger folks that haven't hit that. So it's a really, it is
Mm.
like, it's a great, it's not even like, I don't know if family's the word, it's just a great space when you see that happening, like the young helping the old and the old helping, sound like Yoda right
Yeah.
now, but that's how it is. It's very cool. So
Which is the beauty of it because I think every age range has something to bring to the table,
yeah,
especially the
they do.
younger generation.
Yeah,
Social is what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Which social platforms work for this kind of industry? You mentioned TikTok, which is interesting.
Yeah, you know what? That would be a T2 quite one of our Tylers in marketing. He does our social media side and stuff. So that would be their question. What works? But I know we're on all of them.
Hmm.
Again, that's not really my space, so I'm not too sure which one is. Well, I know, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those basics. But we
Hmm.
run campaigns and push and boost in all of those markets, and they all drive to the one call center. So I think
Mm.
I think all of them, but I know TikTok I think is the funnest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially, I think you shared a post on, there was a TikTok video of Puddle Pool. I
Yeah.
was, yeah, I saw that video, and that's why I had this question. It just
Oh,
came to my
right.
mind. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's yeah, it is a space like, TikTok, you have to be there. And at first when it came out, or I said can't, but whenever we first started looking at it, especially in the home service space, there's things on TikTok that work and things that do not work. And that's not coming from me. That's from our social team. And I know even when we're doing our training and our roundtables and group meetings on social media, and they talk about like one of our guys runs those, who's a franchise partner, came and he helps with those, and
Mhm.
it's like even it's just crazy the whole matching. Like I sat at the sidelines, and to me, I'm just like, what are we talking about? This is crazy, not crazy, but it's just like it's a whole different world, and it's their world, right? Like you know what I mean? Like the younger,
Yeah,
like you guys,
I
I
get
think
it.
younger, right? So it's more of yeah, it's more just like the music that attaches that they put to it, even the way the cameras. He says when you start from your feet and work up, and then like just all of those little things, you're like, wow, it
Mm.
really, and you see it works, so that's very cool.
I really like, while speaking with you, I really like that you have this mindset of letting the experts take care of their domain. Many entrepreneurs have this, and that's okay, but they have this feeling of control. But it's
Yeah.
good to let people have, take care of the domain and make it more of a, let's say, we share the best practices rather than telling them what to do. Hmm. You've been in this space, yeah? You've been in, yeah, I was going to say you've been in this space for a decade. What have been the main pain points, let's say in the past, as far as franchise partnership is concerned?
Yeah, I think since I think it's really the pain points would be, whenever you do we did had our first franchise, it was great. You start to have the pain. Well, it's not great. I shouldn't say not great. It was at first it was challenging,
Mhm.
because it's like a whole, even though it's in franchising, you're franchising home service, right? It was very first one. Let's say it was a window cleaning, right? So, and that's what it was, and it was more, how do we bring on the right people, because you're kind of learning as you go. And if anybody who starts gets in the franchise space, oh, I know everything and I know how, like, yeah, right. For sure, you think you have an idea, right? But you're not selling the service to the homeowner. And you're not even really selling the business to somebody. Hey, do you want to buy it? Do you want to buy it? It's more like, here it is. Does it match with you, right? So the pain point at the beginning was um, definitely getting somebody to believe in the system and believe in you, and you know what I mean. So like
Mhm.
my very first franchise partner of all time, Andres, he was the very first one. He was a technician. We had a window cleaning franchise and or business, and then we were going to grow into franchise. And he was a tech. He says, I want to do this. So he moved to another part of Canada, and he was our first franchise partner of ever of all of them, right? And I still talk to the guy, and he's moved on since then, right? And he's getting a little older, but yeah, having those the pain point is really, how do you grow, and what do you do, and because in this space when you make a mistake it's expensive, it's like
It
the,
is.
the marketing costs are different, yeah, so,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask, because it's extremely expensive. If you do not have the right partner, there
yeah,
could be a
they,
lot of issues. So I believe you've had the same, you must have faced the same problems in the past. You, as you
yeah,
mentioned, it's more of a challenge. So, what's your philosophy today as far as seeking a franchise partner is concerned?
yeah, so it's, and that brings it like to today, which is a great point. It's now it's very like discipline. You got to make sure you have discipline to surround yourself with the right people and the right partners. Like as the founder, I'm on all the very first, second, third calls from an intro call. I like that because it's important to our team, everybody. And when I say it's not just me,
Yeah,
it affects everybody in the system.
it
Like
does.
one bad apple can spoil the bunch, right? So we want to make sure we're very selective and they have that same mindset and
Mm-hmm.
no red flags kind of thing. So I'm sure every franchisor has their own system of what they look for,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. And so you really got to look at like what we're looking for and be really. It's not just hey, I have a check, I want to buy one. No, that's not how it works. That's usually a huge red flag. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with the same like-minded individuals and teams and that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and having the right, that's right, having a checklist of, and obviously believing in your hunch that the
yeah, that's
person
it.
you're speaking with would be a right match, but
Yeah,
also, actively listening, the way they talk.
yeah,
Okay. So those
yeah.
are the kind of partners that you're looking for. As far
Hmm.
as compatibility is concerned, do they need to have a tech background? If what would you say as far as
Yeah.
seeking new partner and the background is concerned?
Yeah, so we don't actually have any. Or I shouldn't say that. We have one person that was in the pool space prior. And we have another one onboarding that has a pool business now. So that's that aside. Um, of all of our franchise partners, we don't, and nobody has any pool experience, right? I always joke. I say I don't even think many of them can swim, so they don't. That has nothing to do with it. It's more of the business side. They have that managerial experience, or it's not necessarily hey I've managed a team of 1,000 or like okay if manage a team of two that's also okay, so that's great to be able to grow and scale and have that vision. I want to grow an empire of, so really that drive, it's just those little things we don't really, there's a checkbox, you have to have, obviously on the financial side they have to be well vetted, they have to, not
Mhm.
they can't be in prison, they have to be clear, that kind of thing. But as far as the type of person, they have to really want to be have to be an A player. They have to be outgoing. They have to be able to like go out and shake somebody's hand. Like hey, how are you? Like, just that outgoing attitude. So and if they've already, like I was thinking, if they've already reached out and they're looking for something and they're already inquiring, if then they already kind of have that bug. So you don't have to worry about do they want to. They wouldn't be talking to you if they didn't want to. So
Mhm.
I think it's just um, what do we look? It's just that individual. I think it's a case by case, right? So
Yeah.
if they have that spark, you can kind of just tell if this is for
Mhm.
them or not. So
Love it. You've got a very a slow approach, but that's great because
yeah,
you're mindful of the kind of people you attract, and that works towards the end of the day, rather than having
yes,
this bulk mindset attitude.
yeah.
Okay.
You actually grow quicker when you're more selective. It's going to be slower at the start, right? Like we start franchising Puddle 2020 last year, 2023, and we ended the year with 11 territories. And then 24, now we just closed on three, so I think we'll be up to about 30 in a couple weeks. So by December, we'll probably close out the year with roughly 30 to 35 territories, maybe, right? So that growth there we're growing quicker now, obviously, right? But it's a quality grow, and so we can really be selective. And then when you see those, you have all of the business as a whole and all the franchise partners as a whole, it supports because whoever we bring in the system really does affect them, right? But with their
Yeah.
support and you're picking these quality people and they're part of these validation calls and hey, can the new person, like if you were looking for a franchise and you get to validation where you want to talk to other people, right? And
Yeah.
if they can't, if they're not saying good things and they're not happy, then you're not going to grow. So I think that controlled,
Yeah.
when you have these quality, and they also want to bring in quality people because it's as much up to them as it is to us, and that is true. It's not like we have had, candidates talk to franchise partners and our franchise partners going, I don't know, man, like I don't think this is going to work. And you hear somebody else and she may say, maybe not so much. So we got to take all that into account because it does affect everybody. So
It does. Yeah.
yeah,
Love that you believe on that because at the end of the system, it's a win-win. So
yeah,
the franchisor wins, the franchisee wins, and if either of the parties are not satisfied, it's not going to work. Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's just
What would
us though.
be?
That's like that's not the
Mhm.
right way. I'm saying that's just the way we do it. So
Mhm.
there's lots of great systems. I don't want to, offend anybody or any of that kind of thing. I'm just saying that's what works for us. So it's
Yeah.
we've adapted that style.
And that's the beauty of this business. Every time I speak with a brand, they have different ways of working. But if
Sure.
it works for them, good for them.
Yep.
And the
Whatever
point is
floats
to
your
see
boat.
what works for you and then just replicating it time and again to get the results.
Yes.
As your what would be your final words for anybody watching this podcast, seeking to get into the franchise space, and what would be the right who would be the right person for you?
If they, as far as getting into the franchise space, franchise is typically it's safer than starting your own, right? If they're looking at franchises, they probably already well educated in this and know. Um, yes, if they're getting into franchise, sorry, can you repeat the question? Kind of lost my train
Yeah,
of thought.
sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
sorry.
So, to end this podcast, what would be your last words for somebody looking into getting into franchising? You
Oh,
already
sure,
mentioned
right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what would make them take to work with you?
Sure. Yeah. Maybe you can edit that other part out. Sorry, I had a mid-morning brain fart. Yeah. As far as getting into franchising, I would say, like, if they're looking at franchising, they already know, they understand what franchising is, like, what is, and don't be afraid to ask those questions. As what is it? Um, there, I would go to do your research, right? Don't go on the next flashy thing, but like we're growing quickly, right? Where there will be some point where we go, oh, these guys are growing really quickly. This might not be the best for them, right? So really do your research, look at all the spaces that you want to get into. Compare home service to brick and mortar to what have you, right? And really get, like, if you do pick home service, get like three, four, five um, sectors or different brands, not in the same industry, right? Like maybe a painting, maybe a landscape, maybe a pool, whatever it may be, because you really don't know until you see what it like. For us, there was no, I'm sure nobody grew up and said, I want to own a pool business. I want to own a pool franchise, right? You don't know until you see the metrics. You're like, wow, this works, right? So really do your research. If you're not sure, there's brokers and consultants that you can use that will there's no charge to you, right? They're paid via the franchise. And in that space, it's heavily regulated. It's not, hey, we'll give you this. It's all equal. So they can use
Mhm.
brokers and consultants that can guide them through the waters with that, and they're really really beneficial because they know everything about the back end about all of these franchises, and they can give them they'll pair them and say, your type and what you're looking for. Maybe try these five and
Mhm.
see which, and then they'll. So there's that road, but I really do your research. Don't rush it. Right, this is a huge life changing. Don't say I have to get it in by the end of the year for
Mhm.
my for tax per or whatever. It's just really take your time and if you're ready, just I would say just do. I don't think I can say that. It's Nikes, right? But just go for it, or just don't think about it. Just because it will kill you if you don't do it. It just mentally, I think if you have that entrepreneurial spirit and you don't, you're like, man, I should have done that, right? So that would be my recommend. And as far as um to know if Puddle would be a good fit is again, it doesn't matter who you are, you still have to go through the same
The same.
system, the same vetting process. Yeah, so just if you're in the home service space, we'd love to talk and see if there's areas available. But I'd say really get a bunch and just pick kind of your what kind of ticks your boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I really love this conversation with you. It's been a long time. I wanted to speak with someone who is in this industry. There's a lot of buzz going around, especially
Oh,
with the younger generation. Actually, the younger
TikTok.
generation has its eyes set on the home services industry.
Yeah.
So that's why I really wanted to speak with you, Mark. And I think
Yeah.
you're doing really well, trying to
Thank you.
revolutionize the way things are, organize the sector. So that's great.
Thank
And
you.
as my last words, please, if you could share the link of the show, I'd love to watch you. Dragon's Den.
Yeah, I will. I have to find it. Yeah, that was a while ago, but for sure.
Yeah, I would love
That's
that.
great.
So, thanks a lot, Mark. It was
Thank
really
you.
nice chatting with you.
You as well. It
Cheers.
was great. Thanks for having me.